Hello, my name is Dr. Al Garza, founder and director of NHB Christian Talk Ministries. I have been a Christian and a student of the Word for about 20 years. I have an online ministry at nhbchristiantalk.org, and I also have a radio broadcast on blogtalkradio.com. Now, I am here broadcasting on YouTube because I have been asked a number of questions through emails, through my radio show, through my website, on eschatology or end-time events concerning the tribulation, the Antichrist, the 1,000 millennial reign of Christ on earth. I've been asked a number of questions on whether or not these are actually Christian teachings within the scriptures, or are these just traditions that crept into the church within the last 150 years. Well, in response, one, I am broadcasting here on YouTube, and two, I've written a book called The Jewish Unveiling of Revelation and the End. Dr. Kenneth Gentry Jr. has also put a section in here in regards to the book of Revelation. This book is available at my website, nhbchristiantalk.org, or you can wait till November 20th, where you can get a copy at Barnes & Noble, Amazon, and other local bookstores. But if you don't want to wait, go ahead and go to my website, nhbchristiantalk.org, and order a copy, and we'll send it out to you. Now, today's broadcast, I'm going to deal with Daniel 9:27 of the Scriptures. I've been asked many questions regarding this passage on whether or not it is dealing with the Antichrist who will confirm or make this peace treaty with Israel for 7 years. Unfortunately, I used to believe in these same dispensational teachings for many years in my early Christian walk. But as I went to school, I studied the Hebrew, the Greek, I talked to Messianic and Orthodox rabbis and Jews, learned the language. I found something very interesting in these passages. Unfortunately, they do not agree with the modern view. Now, in my earlier broadcasts, I've done it on the 1,000 millennial reign, and I utilized the Greek. But this time, I'm going to utilize the Hebrew grammar. Now, in this context, we're going to look at the whole chapter of 9 briefly and focus on the he part of verse 27 of chapter 29. Is it he Antichrist, or is it he someone else? Now, the Hebrew grammar makes it absolutely and unequivocally clear on who the he is, the pronoun here. Now, either we adhere to the grammar of the text in the Hebrew, or we can follow traditions of the church. You decide on this and check it out for yourself. And in fact, I do have the Greek and the Hebrew scriptures here, which in Hebrew I'll be utilizing today, as well as a basic and biblical Hebrew grammar, which I'll be reading from, as well as I have other books on the Hebrew grammar in more depth. But in this case, we won't have to go too far. Now, in the context of Daniel 9, I want you to read on your own the whole context and compare it to Leviticus 26 concerning the curses that would fall upon Israel for falling into idolatry and leaving the first true love of God. Now, in this whole context, you'll see passages in verses 5, verses 11, verse 13, 14, 16, on how Daniel here is praying because of Israel's sins and how the curses that fall upon them because they have disobeyed the law of Moses and turned to other gods. Now, I don't have time to read it all, but you'll find how Daniel talks about the city of Jerusalem and how their sins and how their iniquities have fallen upon them because of the iniquities of their fathers. You'll find this all in there. And then you have Daniel's prayer, for we are not presenting our supplications before you on account of any merits of our own, but on account of your great compassion. Now, he talks about this, and then he gets his answer from Gabriel, who appears to him and tells him. Verse 24 talks about the 70 weeks that have been decreed for your people, which is the Jews, and your holy city, Jerusalem, to finish the transgression, to make an end of sin, to make a atonement for iniquity, to bring an everlasting righteousness. I'm not going to get into the Hebrew exactly the in-depth on this, because that's not what I want to focus on. But I want to focus on verse 26. Then after the 62 weeks, the Messiah will be cut off and have nothing. And a people of a prince who is to come will destroy the city and the sanctuary, and its end will come with the flood. Even to the end there will be war. Desolates are determined. Now also in verse 25 you have Messiah the prince, and then you have also Messiah in the Hebrew here. It isn't HaMashiach the Messiah, it's just Mashiach in verse 26, Messiah. But it's interesting to note because in the Hebrew it's rendered as the proper noun, while you have in verse 26 people and a prince, which are the indefinite noun. Now, I like to show you this because in the Hebrew it renders, you have three types of definite nouns in Hebrew. One with the article, the definite article, like it says Hamashiach, the Messiah, then it becomes a definite. The proper nouns like Egypt, if we say Egypt, we don't need the Egypt. And in this rendering, it is Messiah, that is the proper noun here, rendering as well. And you have nouns that are possessive nouns like your book or my book. In this case, also, you have what's referred to as indefinite nouns like a prophet or an elder, a prophet or an elder, or like in this text, a people or a prince, indefinite nouns. Now, the pronoun he in verse 27 must go back to the noun of the text. It's called the antecedent. Now, I have here a Greek Hebrew grammar book that I read to the antecedent is. And it says, on the antecedent, the co-referent that any pronoun points back to. For example, Jimmy was running in the hall and tripped over his shoelace. The antecedent of the pronoun his is Jimmy. The antecedent here of verse 27, he, is Messiah, not people or a prince, not Antichrist. There's no Antichrist mentioned anywhere in this text. In fact, it is, if you diagram this whole verse, which I don't have any time to do, but if you diagram it, you'll find out that he goes back to the antecedent Messiah. Okay, the pronoun goes back to Messiah, Messiah the prince, the proper noun, the definite noun in this text. So I don't know how these Bible teachers can come and proclaim that verse 27 is saying a peace accord with Antichrist and Israel, where it clearly states that the Messiah will confirm a strong covenant, literally in the Hebrew, and then the covenant for 1 week, but in the middle of it, it'll be stopped, it'll be cut off, and he'll put a stop to sacrifices, and then grain offerings and the winged abominations will come. Now, this is what we refer to as the Messiah who will confirm the covenant which was given to the fathers, the covenant that is spoken of in Hebrew, which is an everlasting covenant, which is by his blood. We have an everlasting covenant, a better covenant, one that is eternal through his blood. This covenant was confirmed on Calvary at the cross, which put an end to sacrifices and offerings, which were given for atonement of sins. That's why the book of Hebrews is all about stopping sacrifices and giving sacrifices unto God for sins, because the Messiah was the final sacrifice. That was it. And you can read that all in the book of Hebrews. But in the Hebrew grammar, which I want to just focus on here, the he is not the Antichrist. So again, are you going to stay with traditions of the church that teach that the he here is Antichrist, or are you going to follow the actual Hebrew and the Hebrew grammar of the text and realize that the he goes back to the antecedent of the proper noun Messiah, not the indefinite noun, which would be people or a prince? So if your Bible in the English translation here has the people of the prince, scratch it out, because in Hebrew there is no indefinite articles. There's no definite articles rendered in the Hebrew in this text. I have a Hebrew Bible here. I looked for the definite article. It is not there. The definite article would be the Hebrew letter ha or he. It would precede the noun. Like Mashiach would be Hamashiach. If I put the he there, the Hebrew letter, it makes it definite. You're not going to find that in the Hebrew text. There's nothing in it. It doesn't say the prince or the people. So again, we need to adhere to the text. The grammar does not allow this to refer to the prince or an antichrist, which is nowhere found in the text. I hope this has been helpful. If you have any questions, go to my website, nhbchristiantalk.org. You can order my book once again, The Jewish Unveiling of Revelation and the End. And I deal with this in my book grammatically, how, again, it doesn't fit. And I also cite the sources of the 70th week throughout history of Josephus all the way down to modern-day scholars that proclaim that the 70th week was fulfilled at 70. And so I deal with that in the book and the grammar here in the text. So again, I hope this has been helpful. I hope you actually will check this out for yourself and decide for yourself if we should, again, adhere to the text or traditions of men. My name is Dr. Al Garza, founder and director of NHB Christian Talk Ministries, and I'll see you again.